Hi, meditation nerds. I don't trust my live is actually live. That's why I'm delaying. Okay, so now it's resetting. Okay, so I'm just going to start with a bit of a delay each time just to check, make sure it's still showing live because it has a habit of showing live and then it resets. So I'm not really sure when it actually starts going live. I don't trust it anymore. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about something a little bit different. As you can see, I have a book on screen. This is not a book review, nor am I speaking to borderline personality as a clinician or really specifically on an individual level. I recently read I Hate You, Don't Leave Me. So I wanted to give you an image. There is a link in the description if you'd like to read this book. My avatar seems to be glitching out today, so we're just going to let her do. Okay, I can't handle the weirdness. Um, so I'm bringing this up because the authors of I Hate You Don't Leave Me actually brought up a couple reference points that made me reflect on my own meditative practice, which I love when books do that have really nothing to do with meditation. So these authors they do a beautiful breakdown of exactly how people with borderline personality disorder see the world, how they're functioning within the world. They provide the characteristics, how to interact, how to build relationships. It's a really good book. But one of the points that they made that I first started to really reflect on my meditation practice overall was how they stated that society as a whole can actually be seen as currently having its own issue with borderline personality disorder, just in the way that society has become more impulsive, it's more self destructive, which are characteristics or can be characteristics of borderline personality disorder. And it made me think of how I felt when I first started meditating. How now again, this is not a direct linear link here. Okay, this is I'm just kind of giving you a window into my brain and how I kind of process information. When I first started meditating, I didn't relate to society. I didn't really relate to the world around me. None of what I was being told seemed to align with my experience, and it was disconcerting at best. Um, so then the authors speak a little bit about how we each have our own quote unquote borderlands. Now, this is where we're going to diverge from speaking about BPD or borderline personality disorder in regards to the clinical setting to um, the experience of those with borderline personality disorder. We're going to kind of shift here to how the Buddhist tradition speaks about borderline or being within a borderline, because this is sort of where my own practice comes into play and how I generally feel kind of like stuck in between that space where you're not exactly doing what you used to, but you're not where you're trying to go yet. You're stuck in that in between phase. Sorry, having a bit of a freeze moment. Hopefully you can still hear me at least. I am still showing live. Okay, yep, and my avatar has decided that the only part of this that's going to work now is her mouth. So, um, something that I feel like, at least when I first started meditating, that I couldn't find readily available, let me rephrase that, was this aspect of a meditative practice on a bigger scale, right? Most people, when they're talking about meditation, it's the wonderful benefits. It's better focus, you feel more grounded, you feel more present, you you feel like you're alive, right? You're connecting in a way that's completely different. You're better, you give yourself that little bit of borderland where you have breathing space between your old reaction or reaction and just being with how you feel, right? So that's a picture of borderland as well. That's not really negative. But I couldn't really find aspects of the frustration exploding, the confusion exploding, the disconnection, the other aspects that you highlight when you're having, well, not having, when you're going deeper with your meditative practice, right? Okay, so now I'm getting an error. Okay, well, I hope that this will still Hope this is still showing live. I'm not sure if I am still live. Give me 1 second, guys. No, the timer's still going. Okay, I'm going to proceed as if it's still live. Hopefully this is still live. My avatar is the one that's frozen, so hopefully that's all that I'm getting the error for. Okay, sorry, getting a little bit off topic here. So I couldn't find these aspects. It was frustrating. I finally was able to connect with a teacher that did highlight that this is perfectly normal. This is actually part of what most people experience. So before we go any deeper into this, I do want to call out first and foremost, because it is important to me that I say this, that I'm coming at this from a layperson perspective. Okay. I am a lay Buddhist. That makes the most sense to me. I would like to heal suffering. Again, that's what resonates with me. Okay, so this is not a preachy thing. This is also not me trying to speak to something as an expert when I'm not, because I'm not. So it's very important that I front load that. And we're going to be speaking about concepts like anicca, which is impermanence, dukkha. My apologies if I'm mispronouncing that. Again, layperson, I'm doing my best, and I am still a student, so bear with me. Which dukkha is suffering, and then the bardo, which is the in-between state. So again, this is kind of a glimpse into my brain, how this book is purely psychological. These authors, they're not talking about any of this. Okay, this is me going off on my own and making these connections, just to make that clear. I did find the book really helpful and insightful, so I wanted to reference what kicked off this line of thinking, and I wanted to offer it. So if you guys are interested in learning more about that, you can start there. So again, just to reiterate, I am aware that I'm a student, not a master of these traditions. These teachings have a deep, rich history, primarily within Asian cultures. And I'm simply coming at this from a grateful visitor learning from them. And I'm striving to share these insights with respect. Again, reiterating, I understand that my my understanding is incomplete and my perspective is limited. So again, it's important that I call those out for my own heart. Um, so, so I have my notes here. I'm trying to reframe it because this seems a little bit inappropriate now with the way that I'm speaking. So bear with me as I gather myself here. Okay, I captured all of that. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to do better with notes to kind of help guide me and keep me on point, because I have a tendency to just like wander off. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of jump around here a little bit. I don't like the way I laid this out now. It doesn't really make sense with what I'm doing here. Okay, so um, let's, you know what? Actually, let's change it up altogether. So I want to do a meditation as well for the borderlands. So we're going to go ahead and do the meditation here, and then I can speak to the other aspects on the end. That feels like it's more appropriate now. Maybe that's why I'm having a hard time with my notes. Okay. So with this meditation that we're going to do, it is a body scan. You may be a fan, you may not be a fan. Now, I do want to state that if at any point you feel that this is too much, you can't handle what's coming up, then I want you to do a couple of different things. See which works, see which helps the most. I want you to open your eyes and focus on your breathing until you feel more grounded and centered, or just bring your focus specifically to your breath while just allowing things to, without focusing on what's going on, just focus on the breath until you feel centered again. Because I always want you to come back to your own guidance. You are your own teacher. So this is about where you are, what's best for you. So don't ever force yourself into any position or meditation that's too far, that's more than you can handle. That can be more destructive than helpful. So what we're going to be focusing on is an area in your life where you feel that you're stuck in between. You feel that you're in a borderland. And we're going to focus specifically on one, because I don't want to get too lost in doing multiple, just because that can kind of take away from the practice itself. So go ahead and close your eyes. We're going to focus on the breath to start. So go ahead and inhale nice and deep. Exhale. Okay, I'm getting way too hot. I need to turn the fan on. And then I just want you to settle into your body. Just notice how your body feels overall. We'll go in a little bit deeper in a bit. But for now, we're just bringing ourselves into the center. Nice and deep into the body, just awareness of heaviness, weightlessness. Maybe there's some tension or panic. Could just be me. Okay. Inhale nice and deep. Exhale. Okay, and then I want you to bring to mind a place where you feel like you're in a borderland. You're in between spaces. You're no longer doing what you were, but you aren't where you want to be either. You're in between. Okay. So with that in mind, and you can bring this can come from your heart, it can come from your mind. I'm going to focus specifically on my heart, holding it in my heart to help me keep my heart open with uncomfort, and also to anchor in my heart instead of my mind. I'm far too anchored into my mind, and that has not been helping me. Okay. So with that centered in your heart, I want you to notice what's happening to your body. Okay, so the focus here is the awareness of the in-between state, right? So that's obviously bringing us more firmly into the body. I want you to notice what's happening in your body. So for example, my shoulders and neck are like just rock solid. Like my neck doesn't want to move. My shoulders feel like they have immense weight on them. And it feels like my head is detached from the rest of my body, while my body feels like it's just a furnace. So I just want you to notice these things. Don't necessarily, there's no story. Don't attach anything to these parts or these bits of awareness of how your body's responding to this in-between place. We're just trying to bring attention for this part. We're just trying to bring attention to what's happening. Okay. Just, you're just calling it out. My chest tends to constrict. That feels like it's constricting with both fear, revulsion, and disgust. A whole lot of panic suffused within all of that melee. And it feels more like a rowdy party than chaos, which is interesting. Okay, so now we're going to move into focusing really on the breath. So we're going to inhale, exhale. I'm going to do a couple more grounding breaths. Again, not attaching to anything. We still have space and awareness for both the in-between space and then what's physically happening. I'm going to take 2 more breaths. So inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Okay. Now I want you to reflect on who you are without this space. So let that go. Let the in-between space go. You can see it shooting out of your heart, out of your mind. You can see it leaving nice on a banquet of color. You can thank it for showing up and, open the door and politely ask it to leave, however you want to. However you want to do that is perfectly fine. And then I want you to notice how your body responds as you let that go. Okay, so my chest opens first, which allows for my shoulders to drop down and pull back. My neck is still begrudgingly holding on to rigidity, so I'm not really sure what else is in there, but clearly there's more going on in my neck. Okay, and I'm seeing that my intestines are having some issues now. Maybe it's fear of letting go. Okay, don't do what I just did. Don't don't create another story. Just note if other things are coming up. You can thank it for bringing awareness, but don't get lost into that like I just did. That's not where we're going this time. Nice deep inhale. Exhale. And then one more time, I want you to reflect on who you are without that in between space. Who are you without being stuck in that space? So, how can I phrase that in a better way? Letting go of feeling that you're stuck in between anything. Who are you without feeling stuck in between anything? That's a better way to phrase it, or another way to phrase it. So, inhale, exhale, let go of being stuck in that space, and then notice what happens to your body. And again, you can visualize this however you need to. It can be words, it can be colors, it can be visualizations. However you want to do that is perfectly fine. I tend to have a couple different ways of doing that. So okay, and I'm noticing there's some other fear coming up from some other aspects. So I'm gonna breathe into one more time. Inhale nice and deep. Exhale. Okay, and then we're just gonna sit for a moment, and I want you to just reflect on how your body feels now. There might be a slight shift, there might be a big shift, or you might not have noticed any shift. If that's the case for no shift or you not noticing anything now, I want you to think back to the overall practice. What was there anything that did work for you? Anything that sparked a, oh, okay, yeah, that's helpful, or oh, that's nice, or something like that. Was there a part of the practice that you did notice a benefit? And I want you to highlight that because I want you to use what that was that helped you and move that forward. Let all of what didn't work go and focus on what did to carry that forward and start a meditative practice based on that little nugget, and it will grow and expand outward from that. And then for everyone that did notice, that is noticing a shift, small or large, not really the point, I want you to really sink into that and do the same thing. I want you to notice what worked, and I want you to carry those nuggets forward. Let the rest of it go that didn't work, because that's obviously not needed, and carry that forward to build a meditative practice from. Now we're just going to take one more breath as we really sink into the body. Inhale, exhale, and then you can gently open your eyes. I need to wipe mine. They got really goobery. It's kind of gross. Okay. So someone may be asking, okay, why would you do a video like this? This seems odd. Well, I I'm noticing a lot of in between spaces. Not just within myself or my personal relationships or community, but just kind of a wider overall trend of in between spaces that so I'm going to bring this back to the discussion in my little highlighted notes. There's no real structure happening right now. There's a lot of instability and what feels like crumbling. So in the Buddhist tradition, it's anicca, which is impermanence, right? We have no real structure. There's no real fixed roles or beliefs or identities, while we're also simultaneously death gripping these these illusions and what we've convinced ourselves we are or we're not or we strive to be, but it's not really based on solid ground, if that makes sense. So I found this just really insightful as far as where is my, oh, I think my mouse died. Okay. Sorry, guys, I'm having a lot of chaotic issues here. So I found this really insightful and really impactful as far as that's kind of the overall feeling I have within society at the moment is just this really big chaotic position of being in the middle of no fixed structures while being inundated with these beliefs that others feel we should all carry forward, and neither of them resonate. But my meditative practice gives me a sense of grounding within myself, not fleeting um, emotions or beliefs. And I found this just, I don't know, I thought it was an interesting take. And the fact that it wasn't a meditative book, it wasn't a meditation book, it felt less heavy. It seemed to give validity to just kind of how I'm feeling overall. And it seems like society as a whole, there's just this acute anxiety overall. And I thought that this book really, the fact that the authors called out society as a whole is exhibiting these symptoms of borderline personality disorder, I thought that was incredibly insightful and very validating. So just wanted to share a couple of thoughts on it. Um, sorry, now I have to use my laptops. Okay, so then I wanted to talk about dukkha, suffering, also within the Buddhist tradition. I've already covered. I'm still a student and spoken to that, so I'm not an expert here. But the overall push and pull of a lot of what we're seeing in society, right? These constant dual beliefs pulling us in multiple directions, just adding more and more suffering because it's not based on something that's grounded within ourselves, right? It's not coming from our authentic selves. It's all of these outward things that are constantly pushing and pulling, and it's just, if I don't know how anyone else feels about it, but it almost feels like being pulled apart, right? And just more suffering just comes pouring out of that place because there's no stability, and it's not really grounded on love. It's not grounded on decency or authenticity. It's just this chaotic mishmash of just, hatred and division, and it's very disconcerting that this is where we're going. And it kind of shows just, you can see on a societal scale how it it's like, I just lost my thought. It's dividing people, and then you see it on the individual scales where people, you can see the division where they're arguing for one thing and then arguing for the exact opposite, and it's just very sad to see. So I just wanted to offer something that spoke to that in between space. Like I said, when I first started meditating, there wasn't a whole lot out there that spoke to this aspect of a meditative practice, that it's normal to see your anger explode within. Not saying it's okay to, just blow up on people because you started a meditative practice. That's not okay to do in general. It's not okay to do when you've started a new meditation practice. I'm just saying that you notice within yourself the highlighting of how you've actually been living. For me, it was anger. I just felt like triply angry, and it scared me. So I went looking for information, and most people weren't talking about that. Most people were just talking about the highlights and the good things, which, again, meditation is amazing and there are a lot of wonderful things about it. It just felt frustrating to me that no one was speaking to the possible challenges or the shocks of it as well, because that doesn't benefit anyone to pretend like there aren't challenges or shocks associated with meditating as well. That just, to me, it undermines a practice, or it doesn't give the full scope and spectrum of the beauty of the meditative practice itself, which again leads us back to that borderland, right? So you feel lost in this space that no one's really addressing. And so I wanted to offer something that at least spoke to it a little bit. My apologies for this not being as clean as I meant it to be. I thought I had this much better laid out. I get into it, and that's not really how it worked out. But so finally, borderland, purgatory, or the Bardo in reference to the Buddhist tradition. Also making me think of Alice in Borderland. I feel like that captured how I felt initially. That's a pretty good. Anyway, so the Bardo being the intermediate state or in between state between death and rebirth. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean physical death, the death of the old self, the death of an ideal, the death of a belief system into a rebirth of something hopefully more elevated or better. I don't know that we can look at society and say that we've rebirthed into something better. That's just my own personal take on that. So the Bardo being the liminal space, right? It's generally described as confusing, frightening, filled with projections of one's own mind. Hence the beginning of my meditative practice, which was terrifying because, again, there wasn't a lot of literature. There weren't a lot of experts going, hey man, just so you know, these are some possible highlights or shocks, challenges that you could run into. So just know that you're not doing anything wrong. You're not broken. You're not a weirdo. Nothing has gone wrong. This is actually how you've been operating day to day. You've just stopped to actually look at it. So congratulations. We're glad you're here. Sorry you're having a panic attack over it. It is intense. Here's a hand to hold on to while we walk this path together, because you aren't alone. You are not in this liminal space by yourself. There's a whole gang of us in here confusedly walking into walls right beside you. So, welcome to the party. Um, and the fact that the authors spoke to society overall and linked it to the borderline personality, I feel like kind of highlights our current society in a collective Bardo state as well, from a Buddhist tradition versus a clinical psychologist position. So I just thought this was really, really interesting and just kind of a glimpse into how my brain sort of makes connections, um, and just how I get, constantly reminded to reflect on my practice. I think about meditation all the time, just in different relations and how best to apply it, that type of thing. And I kind of wanted to speak to the fact that the borderland isn't a place to escape, it's a place to learn and to dwell with wisdom, right? It's really just like your meditative practice or anything else for that matter. It's what you put into it that's going to be the most beneficial to you. And when I first started doing it, like I said, it was really scary to see what was happening within me. Again, because there were no real voices out there shouting about it. So I wanted to just shout out, in case you're in the liminal space, you're in the Bardo, you're in the borderland, you're not alone. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You're not doing anything wrong. This is part of what inner cleansing looks like, and it can be messy, it can be gross, it can be really smelly, and you know what I mean, it can also be beautiful and breathtaking and awe-inspiring. Like, all of these things can coexist together and often do. So I wanted to shout these out. Let me make sure I haven't forgotten any other points that. Oh, okay. And then I just had a couple of other meditations that I wanted to draw for specific aspects of the borderland in relation to not only the Buddhist, the Bardo, or the clinical psychology of the borderline personality disorder. I just wanted to offer some additional meditative practices. And of course, um, always reach out to a mental health professional. I am not a mental health professional. I am merely a meditation nerd. I meditate every day, have for the past 10 years. So I'm sharing the tools that help me, ranting and raving about the big ass gaps that I'm noticing or have noticed and wanted to share, and just shout into the void to let you know you are not in this void by yourself. So please know that you have support systems. There are others here with you. You are not alone. You are not broken. We are here for you. Um, oh, and then so I have this noted. I'm going to go ahead and shout this out. Meditation doesn't get us out of the borderland. It gives us a map and a compass to navigate it, and eventually to see that this very groundlessness is the source of our greatest freedom. And that's because we're no longer clinging to illusions, right? We're not grasping for all of these things that are outside of our authentic self, which is ultimately the true guide, right? The true source of how we heal suffering, which is my ultimate goal. So um okay, I think this is a good point. I'm going to leave this in here. So the societal borderland, as uncomfortable as it is a powerful catalyst for awakening, or can be, because it forces us to question external structures and ultimately to find our true foundation within, because it's not outside of us, right? We have the power to heal our suffering. That's always within us. It's not some outside guru that's going to do it for us, right? Yeah, there are wonderful people that teach us every single day, and they are incredible people. They cannot heal your suffering for you. They can't heal my suffering for me, right? They're incredible lights that I am very grateful to have floating around beside me, right? They can't do it for me. This is up to me. It's up to each individual one of us. Ones of us? How am I trying to frame that sentence? Okay, this is going off the rails quickly. So just so you know, I'm just human like the rest of you guys, and I'm figuring it out on the ground in the trenches with you as well, so bear with me. Finally, it pushes us to develop a sense of self that isn't built on shifting sands of roles and labels, but on the bedrock of mindful awareness itself, which we then apply to others, right? Because we get to a place that is self-loving, self-compassionate, self-healing, self-caring, right? There's self-forgiveness, right? And when you feel those things for yourselves, you can't you can't offer anything else, right? You don't have any hate in your heart to offer to anyone else for any reason. No, this isn't a utopia. No, this is not some pie in the sky, never going to happen. It is possible. And meditation helps us get there. So I hope that everyone can find something within this video that is elevating and speaks to you. If there's anyone that feels I didn't speak to you or that I missed your perspective, please drop it in the comments. I will be happy to speak to it or address it. I'm open to new ways of seeing this, new perspectives. So anyone that joined me, thank you for being a part of this ranting, rambling, disjointed little showdown here. I thought I had this better outlined than it actually came through, but that's just kind of my growth right now. It gets a little chaotic for me when I'm growing beyond old patterns. So thank you for showing up with me. Thank you for for showing compassion as I continue to grow and heal right alongside you guys. So again, I hope you found this helpful, and see you next time.